Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the class so far. I've really enjoyed this past week's discussion board and seen all the great comments and participation that you guys have done. This week we are going to be looking at socialization and the family. We've touched a little on what socialization is, but let's go over it a bit more. Socialization is the way that we learn norms and social expectations. It's the reason that we know how to act the way we do. It's a process learned through socializing with others. If you recall in the opening of chapter 5, the story of Danielle, this gives us an example of someone who was not socialized and couldn't even do the simplest things, such as nodding, standing, or walking forward. Because she lacked socialization, she was not prepared to be a part of a society. This goes to show how important our early social contact and socialization is. So let's take a minute and let's talk about why socialization matters. Socialization is how societies continue to exist. We are taught things to keep our society going. And although we may develop more advanced ways of doing things, they add to the society rather than take away from it. Socialization helps each of us see ourselves through the eyes of other people, and we learn how to fit into our world. We learn how to dress, we learn how to eat, we learn how to behave, and most importantly, we learn language. We know that our families are the first agents of socialization. Our families are the first people who teach us how to use things. They teach us how we should relate to others and how we should act towards others, and also just in general how the world works. Many times, our socialization begins even before we are born. As soon as parents find out what they're having, they start planning how they will raise that child. They say things like, I want her to be in dance class so she can wear that tutu and a cute little leotard. Or they say, I want him to play soccer and football, and he's going to be the quarterback of the high school football team. So right from the beginning, even before we come to this earth, we are being socialized. Our parents have ideas for how we should be socialized, but once we start leaving our home, we realize that there are many other agents of socialization that we're exposed to. Peer groups begin to take part in our socialization process early on. As a mother of young boys, I have been taking my little boys to play groups since my oldest son was 1 year old. As they interact with other kids, they learn how they are supposed to behave. Older kids will teach them the playground rules. They'll teach them how to play the games. They'll teach them kind of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. You see the different influences of peer socialization as the children grow and progress through life. School is another big agent of socialization. School-age kids spend the majority of their day at school. Not only do they study and learn, but they begin to learn how the real world functions. There is what we call a hidden curriculum that prepares kids for the adult world. We see this through the use of daily routines, teamwork, group work, teachers who reinforce societal expectations, the need for taking turns, and even a simple thing as, well, we don't always win. Sometimes there's winners and sometimes you just don't win. From school we transition to work and are first socialized into that new environment. We can see how socialization is a lifelong process. It's not something that we just go through when we're young kids and then we're socialized. It's something that we are exposed to our whole lives, and it changes throughout our life and where we're at. So socialization is definitely something that is very important to us and definitely something that is very important to sociologists. Let's transition here and let's start looking at families. When we talk about family, one might think of a traditional family, a husband, a wife, and their children. Traditionally, this is what families used to look like. From a sociological perspective, family is considered a group that is joined either by blood or marriage. They could be a cohabitating group, or there's always adoption. This group will have an emotional connection, and they are also considered an economic unit of society. Today's families tend to look a little bit different than the traditional family. And although the concept or the makeup of the family has changed, family in general remains a very important part of our society. You will see in the book that there are many variations to family life. We have the nuclear family, which consists of what you would see as the traditional family, the parents and the children. And in other cultures that are more collective cultures, you will see that the nuclear family, along with the extended family, tend to live in the same home. Here in America, where we are a little bit more individualistic, it's generally just the nuclear family that lives in the household. We have seen a growth in other types of families as well, such as single-parent families, cohabitating couples, same-sex couples, and even those people that just want to stay single and that they don't ever get married or have long-term relationships with other people. I really enjoyed the Making Connections box in the book, where it talks about the evolution of television families. This gives you a really good idea of how families have changed over the decades and how our society has become more accepting of the non-traditional family patterns. It's a very clear example of how we as a culture adapt to social change. Be sure to get all of your reading this week done, and I'm really looking forward to this week's discussion board and what you all have to say. Be sure to reply to all of your classmates' posts and comments whenever they comment or reply to your post. It's a great way to build our class community. Enjoy your week, and as always, feel free to contact me with any questions, or you can even post on the Got Questions board. All right, see you later.